Okay, we're gonna call the meeting to order at whatever time it is, 5:02?
6 on the dot.
6:02, I mean, 6 on the dot. Oh, look at that, we're almost perfect. Additions or deletions to the agenda? Anybody additions or deletions?
My only question is, did you get a second mailing from Sue with a second batch of minutes?
No. Maybe, but I haven't looked at emails for a while.
So we know the February ones were in the packet, but we got the other minutes as well, but we didn't have them at the time we made the agenda. So I think she was gonna send them, but she might not have.
You have the March ones here.
Oh, you do?
Yeah, March is in.
Okay, so, but on the agenda, it doesn't have those minutes listed.
That's okay.
So that's the only change you wanna,
Okay, so we'll approve February 26th and March 4th, right?
Yep.
Thank you. That's why clerk is here, to keep us straight. It's the only reason you showed up tonight. Is there any other additions or deletions? I'm gonna add one under superintendent's report, and we'll move it up. Is Lori here again?
yeah, actually, she and I talked, we don't need to.
Okay, you're all good?
We're all good.
Okay, cool. Then I'll go to members of the public. Mark Schauber, go ahead.
Nothing right now, thank you.
Okay, I have the email you sent. Do you want to put that in under correspondence then?
Negative.
Okay. That's all I see for public, right? Mark, Lori, Tracy.
Meredith.
Meredith is our clerk.
Oh,
Is our recordings.
No kidding, I didn't know
You
this.
didn't realize that?
Oh,
Been
maybe.
doing it for a couple of years. She does a really good job.
Nice.
Members of the staff, I don't really see any of those either.
Just Greg.
Yeah, well, Greg is here, I think, for the next thing. Budget review. Okay. Hey, Lori,
Hey,
how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. You're very loud. You're echoing. You're sounding very forceful tonight. Thank you.
Oh, all right. I'll whisper.
No, it was really nice. Hey, so we put here an updated year-end forecast. So you had given us a forecast earlier when we first did the budget, I think back in December, about what you thought or just January, what you thought where we may stand if we're gonna have a deficit or a surplus. Are you still in that number or have things changed? Because I think we've paid our second tuitions, right?
Yes. I'm still projecting right around 300 as a surplus, not a deficit.
Okay. Are there any questions for Lori on that? Not $300 either, folks. There's somebody else
No.
trying to join.
Most of that surplus is coming from, tuitions that we planned for where students left. So that's where the bulk of it is.
Okay, and when we made the adjustment, when we did the budget, we took that into account with our secondary tuition, correct? Okay,
That is correct.
cool. So I want to go to the warning, which hopefully is in your packet. You found yours in the packet?
Yes, it was in
Okay.
the packet.
So it's a section in the packet. We've kind of gone over this, and I'm just going to run through it fairly quickly. And so there's a couple things that we're going to have to fill in. But we have Article 12, which I think is still Article 12. I always mess that up. For the elections, remember, we have to show up at the Dover Town Hall an hour early for the meeting. So the meeting's warned for 7. We have to be there at 6 to count vote ballots. So Article 1 is the moderator, 2 is the clerk and the assistant clerk and stipends, 3 is the treasurer, 4 is the board stipends, 5 is approved mileage reimbursement, 6 is move any surplus from the 23-24 budget into the general reserve fund to be reserved for future uses approved by the voters. Article 7 is the Burton annual tuition rate this year, which is at $29.66. And then Article 8 is the big article to vote for the operating expenditures, which is $6,845,217, and that number was approved at the last. Are there still people trying to get in? Is Chad got his hand up, or is he just saying?
His hand up.
Promises it doesn't
His hand up.
sound on my computer.
Go ahead, Chad.
Hey, Rich, to just clarify the tuition rate in numbers, it's 20,966.
Yeah.
Okay, because you said 2966, so I didn't want people to be confused that it was $29,066. It is $20,966.
That'd be correct. That was done at the last meeting. That's why I'm just kind of blowing through it.
Yep.
Okay, cool.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So then Article 9 was where we had some openings. So Article 9 is shall the voters, and this was a discussion I had with our clerk and actually our moderator too, but she's out of town today because I asked her if she could come also. Shall the voters of the River Valley Unified School District fund its capital reserve funds in the following amounts for the 24-25 school year? Capital improvements, number 1, buildings at $400,000 and transportation at $40,000, with 50% coming from general reserve fund and 50% coming from raising taxes. So the numbers are highlighted, the building and the transportation, the 440 and the 50%, because I wanted to just go over this really quickly with folks. So we knew that the roof was going to be a lot of money. We also know that if looks like there's somebody still trying to get in, but
No,
No?
that's the volume.
oh. So we discussed 40,000 last meeting for transportation, because if Dwight has his way, we'll get a free electric bus. And if don't laugh, Mike. And the building, we were talking with Greg in the $600,000 price range. We do have some money in the reserve fund, and we do, and that's why I put in the number 400. But again, we were still, Greg was going to check and see if we could possibly do half a roof and half a roof. What the cost savings is of doing it all at one time versus if we split it up over 2 years. And then we still had some other capital expenditures for the building. So I think I'd like to give it to Greg and Lori to kind of guide us. You know, is that an appropriate number? Is that number too low? Maybe it's too high. Again, it was just a number I made up, and it has no bearing on anything other than just I made it up. Kind of thinking close to the roof.
Richard?
Yes?
So this is Laura, and I apologize. I popped out of cell service for a minute there. So I'm hoping that Lori, and if you could just recap where we are in terms of the meeting, Lori and our facilities folks are going to give us some advice.
Yeah, I don't know when you popped in and out, but we got to discuss, there's 3 things we got to discuss on this article. 1 is the number of buildings, 2, number of transportation, and then the funding. So I was going to start with the building. Yep. So Greg and Lori, can you kind of give us some thoughts on that? Or I don't know, Bob, are you doing that? Or
No, these guys.
he's the boss is pointing at you all.
That's okay.
You want to start and let them know about the roof, I think, about it being split?
Yeah. I mean, it looked like when I met with those guys, the way it works out on the Dover roof is there's a few different kind of upper areas and then a main lower area, and it works out based on the square footage that you can it's almost a 50-50 split. So the reality is you can do it. The thing I explained to the guys I was talking to is that even if we put it out as a split, I would still probably want to put it out as one bid. Rather than writing 2 bids. So I don't think that there was a big cost savings or cost expense to doing it at once versus doing it twice. I think that they were able to pretty well split it and say, if I think any vendor, as long as they knew they had it for both years, would be able to lock in pricing on the stuff on the roofing itself. So that's kind of why if you look, the numbers basically, it's probably 45, 55 percentage wise to what the original overall was. So
Right, and so to follow up what Greg is saying, the documents that you received tonight, there was the capital plan and also the combo or the fund balance sheet that we use for the capital. I did split the roof out over fiscal year 25 and 26. And it for 25, it was 298,000. And for 26, 332 for a total of 631, which I believe is right around what they quoted to begin with. So like Greg's saying, they're not charging any more to do it over 2 years. Right, Greg, there was about 630. Yeah. So then your combo fund balance to kind of see what that does, right? So I updated those capital expenses to actuals for what we have for 24, which if you're looking at that sheet, which is the beginning reserve fund balance, annual contribution, capital expenditures, that's the document I'm looking at. So for 24, so far, there's been 209 basically capital expenditures. The voters put in, or actually they voted to move 100 from reserves into here. So that's going to leave you with an ending reserve balance as long as there's no more capital spending for fiscal year 24. I'm looking at Greg. That then you'll start off the year in 25 with 125,000. Your warning has 400 on it. Capital expenditures 428, leaving you with $96,000. And that's as far as I went because that's all we're talking about is fiscal year 25 at this point. Is everybody seeing that? Makes sense to everybody?
So, question, Rich?
Go ahead.
So I think what I'm hearing, Lori, is that if we can split the roof in half. If we do split the roof in half, with what we currently have on our warning, we will have $90,000 in our capital reserve fund at the beginning of the year.
At the end of fiscal year 25. So after the roof.
25. And what would be what is our other reserve fund?
So you have roughly a little over $1 million in the, let me just pull that up, in your not capital, but just your plain reserve fund. So, $1.1 million. Yeah,
That's
1.1 million. So no, that is not with the 400 out. That is before the 400 is out.
So if we were to play that through with no other reserves added or unexpected capital expenditures at the end of 25 with 90,000 in our capital reserve and 7.1 maybe in our regular reserve.
Yeah, so you have to look at this in terms of, the next warning as well, because, in the next one, there's always a warning that says that we'll use up to a certain amount to basically buy down tax.
Lori, and Laura, hang on a second. So just so we can go through this, not confuse people, let's start. We need to come up with a number we want to put in for the building. Okay, for doing the capital expenses for the building. When we start bouncing around, then we really confuse people. So I think let's hold it because those are two other questions that are going to be discussed later.
Okay, so I think the answers I think actually all of those things come together for me. So it's hard I certainly appreciate and respect the need to discuss them separately, but in terms of decision making, they kind of fit together. So
yeah, the whole thing fits together, Laura. Including the operating budget. So again, though, it's hard to kind of have a global discussion with 100 different pieces, and it gets confusing. So I'd like to just keep the idea for now, or I think the discussion that we ought to concentrate on is what is a number we feel we should put into for the building, because if we need to do it, we need to do it. So I guess that's kind of where I'd like to hold it. And so I'm going to give the floor to Dwight because he has a couple questions.
Yeah, I think the number seems right considering for through next year. My question, Lori, so that 1.1 million, does that include the surplus from this year's operating budget that's put into it?
No.
Does not. So we have another
No.
300.
So it's a lot of, it's all tied together, like Rich said, and it's a round robin, right? Of taking money out, putting money in. So it does not include, that 1.1 does not include that 300,000 that I'm projecting.
But I'd also like to keep it on, is that 400 the right number?
I understand.
So we can move on.
Right, okay.
So does anybody, so my question, I guess, is there any other questions on the number that we think we should put into bill? And we're not voting on this, Laura. We'll vote on this all as, we'll get through everything and then we'll vote to approve it. But, so we can take this in bite-sized chunks. Is there anybody that thinks the building number should be more than 400 or less than 400? Okay, if nobody has any, go ahead, Laura.
Yeah, I am fine with that for now and reserve the right to come back to that subsequent to our other items.
Correct, okay. So Greg, looking at the facilities condition assessment.
Yes, sir.
So, because when I also look a little bit forward, we can't guarantee somebody something a year down the road because the voters get to decide that. And the capital budget, although we're allowed to expend it, we've always told the voters that we will get permission before we do an expenditure. And we always tell them that we're only voting for this year. Next year, you get to vote next year because there may be a whole different set of circumstances. It's going to be a whole new legislator. It could be a whole new governor. They could decide to give us $1 million in each school. So I don't think we can't promise something for a year down the road. We can promise that we'll recommend it. And then my only other comment is, I'm looking at we're going to be spending close to $200,000 on fire alarms next year and the year after. And I know we've been kicking that can down the road a little bit, but a fire alarm's not going to work if the building's roof is leaking. Is that something that can get pushed down the road a little bit more? Why are we talking about fire alarms? They seem to work. We haven't had a fire and they haven't gone off.
They were in the FCA, Rich, so I put in the first couple of years, so I put them in there. I think in both buildings, it would be good to have an updated addressable fire alarm panel rather than the zone systems that exist. I think it would also be good to add magnets for lockdown buttons and whatnot. A lot of schools now, when you have a fully magneted building and whatnot, then you're able to just hit that button in the office and you can lock your building down in a matter of minutes. Whereas, sometimes it's not that easy. So for me, fire alarms is kind of a twofold sometimes where it's like building safety and fire safety. So for the most part, they were stuck in there in the FCA they were stuck in there by those folks. And so I just tried to keep them in there, but my other side of that is the safety piece. But you're right, we could push that down. The only other things that I think are like, things that I'd want to move with right off would be the play structure for the pre-K kids. I think that's a very good thing to do. And the hood system, we were actually written up a year in 22 by Patrick Banks for needing a hood system over the cooking surface in the kitchen. We put it out, the bids came back over 40,000, and then we just didn't get we didn't get it back out before the school year started as a bid spec. So.
Okay, so everybody good with that then? Because the only thing I'm looking at is if you just carry that forward, and again, we're talking future years, we're not even close to being able to cover everything future. Transportation, 40,000. If you go to your second page, we're gonna be replacing bus number 2, excuse me, which is a 2012. Gosh, we got the tractor back in there too, 3 years. So actually,
I don't think we ever took it out, Rich. We just moved it.
oh, okay.
I just keep moving.
Can we see the tractor and go 30? We're getting less snow. Anyway, so, but the 40,000 in there seems to make us come out okay. It just doesn't come out okay if we do a tractor in a couple of years.
Yeah.
So I think the 40 maybe looks okay. Does anybody have any comments or thoughts on that? Okay.
Makes sense.
So moving along, every year, or we try to, Andy and I and Sarah have gone to this class with the that VLCT puts on called Ruling the Unruly, and it's the moderators class and town meeting class in district meetings. So what they told us this year, and I don't remember ever hearing it before, had you? Oh, you had heard it. Okay, this is the first time I remember it. They were talking about these numbers in like if the assembly or the electorate wants to, there's a way for the moderator to get to a spot to where you can determine numbers, or we're using it for percentages. So what we did was, or what I did was try to come up with something that could maybe get us kind of spark that a little bit. So what I did was I put down, and when Andy actually, I wrote it wrong and Andy corrected it for me. So with 50% of these funds coming from the General Reserve Fund, which is the $1 million fund that Lori was talking about, and 50% coming from raising taxes. And so a person, if they're okay with the numbers, a person could make a motion to change those numbers, and the moderator could do something where they ask, for people to give some suggestions. So it wouldn't have to be a motion, but they could suggest like 1090 with reserve and taxes, or 90-10, and they can give different numbers, and then there's like a voting conducted, not an official vote, but almost like a straw poll vote, to where you get a majority of the people agree with whatever number. Let's say it was 30-70. And if most people do that, then somebody can make an amendment to amend that with, 70% coming from general reserves and 30% coming from taxes. Did I explain that okay?
Yeah.
Okay. So I think this motion, Article 9, or this whole section, allows people to amend it to the amounts in the building transportation, and also to how it's going to be funded. So, again, the 50-50 I just put in there as a starting spot. So we could do the same kind of thing, and I thought if Andy was here, we'd let Andy do that. Is, what does everybody think? And, if somebody wants to say, I'd like to see, 27, 2080, it's got to equal 100. Or we could just kind of have that discussion. So that's what that was in here for, and that's why those were highlighted, so that we can have that discussion and see what people think. I feel really good about the reserve we have. I don't feel really good about the money we're going to be spending over the next couple of years when you look at the future stuff, and some of it, it's just there's a lot of stuff coming at us. We do have older buildings. Even our addition is now 25 years old. It's got to be well over 25 because there was a 20-year bond. So what do people think on that? Is there any suggestions? Kendra, is that your wife?
I'm brothers.
Brothers. Any thoughts? Go ahead, Dwight.
It's interesting. I like that. It's a good way to put it out there, so where people can kind of determine what's being spent, but also if they're getting an understanding of what percentage they're actually contributing to it. But my question, when was the last time we raised money for the reserve, or we asked through taxes? Have we done that in a while? When was the last time we
I don't recall. Lori, do you recall?
It's been a while.
I think it's been, I think probably 3 years. I think 3 years ago. I think the last 2 years, your reserves have been ample to move it from reserves, but I think it was maybe 3 years ago. I'd have to look back at the town reports, the warnings.
At that time, we just asked for a certain amount of money specific to capital reserve.
Right, and if
Okay.
it's not being funded with money coming out of the general reserve. And remember when we first started, we took all our money, we wanted to have those
Right.
different accounts because we don't want the state to say, hey, look, you had $1 million, you're just sitting there, we
Yeah.
want half of it back because it's our money.
Yeah.
You know, the state really believes that all the money they give us is theirs and they're just sharing it with us. Isn't that nice? And again, maybe the 50-50 is a good number to leave in there to just start the conversation. And if we do get the moderator to ask the assembly and they approve us to be able to explain the article before there's questions or comments, that we could explain why we did it. We can explain the numbers, and some of this will be covered because we're going to ask up in Article 6, to move any surplus, and we can say, this is what we're anticipating the surplus to be.
Right.
This is what we have in the general reserve. It's not committed to anything right now. But again, it's also nice to have some money in there if, all of a sudden Tracy says that, the sewer line's bad from the school to the road, we have to dig that up, and that's, $100,000. So,
And the capital plan will be in the booklet. And,
yeah.
Okay.
And the only thing too, Lori, I think for the capital plan, we should fill out a basic contribution, whatever we've been averaging, and we should have that discussion when we're done too, because, all these negative numbers of $2 million don't look great.
Oh, yeah, I can add that back in. I just took it out because you told me last meeting we were only working on fiscal year 25.
Yeah, but I think for what we put in the town report. So anyways, is there any thoughts on Article 9 and numbers, both the building and transportation numbers, which we kind of agreed to, and then the reserve monies?
Richard?
Yeah, Laura?
I'm sorry, can you explain the concept of percentages again to me? I did not quite follow that.
Okay, so there's a thing where, let's say that, I guess the easiest way with this, we're throwing some numbers out. So we're saying half the money comes from the reserve and half from raising in taxes. The moderator can say, instead of somebody having to amend the motion and say, okay, I wanted to say 10% from, or 90% from reserve and 10% from taxes, and then having to go through all that voting and discussion on that. And then the next one say that I want to have it be 15% from taxes and 85%. The moderator can ask for suggestions for the percentages, so people can suggest what they feel is an appropriate number. So they may say everywhere from 10 to 90 to 90 to 10, or even 100% on one or the other. And then they do a straw poll, a straw vote, where people will vote, okay, everybody who thinks 10% in taxes and 90% say, raise your hand, and one person raises their hand, and then they go 20 and 80, and then 3 people raise their hand. Whenever they get to the most people who are approving something, that would be the suggested amendment to the article. So let's say that there's 10 people there and 9 of them raise their hand at 50-50, then that would be the number we would leave, that would go in there to be amended. And then that would be the article. After we vote for the amendment, then that would be the main article.
Okay. And the benefit of this is what?
You asked a couple meetings ago to let the voters tell us, or have a way for the voters to be able to determine what gets taken out of which account. This is the only way I could think of doing it.
I see. How much gets applied to taxes? Okay.
And how much gets applied to be removed from the reserve fund, the general reserve.
Cripple the reserve pretty quick.
No, because we were saying the
And
numbers,
so
it can only be 440, so it would be about a third of the reserve.
Richard,
Yes?
so then I think I think what I'm hearing you say is if we were to put in a set amount, we couldn't amend that?
No, we have to put numbers in there. I was trying to word it where the voters got to put the numbers in, but Andy reminded me, questions have to be a yes or no. Yes, do you agree with this or no? So we are putting numbers in there. We need to put some numbers in there just as a starting point, but then if there's some discussion about it and people want to change those numbers, this is a way, I forgot what we called it again.
Filling in the blanks.
Filling in the blank, that's a way we can get to a number without, having too many amendments and being able to let the voters really have a say on this. So there would be discussion about the numbers, there would be suggestions from the voters, and then we would take whatever suggestion seems to garnish the most support, and then somebody can make an amendment to make it those numbers. So we just have to give them a starting place. And that's why I started at 50-50, just because it was kind of in the middle. Let me just.
Okay, that sounds fine to me. It would be my expectation, Rich, that the board may come in and make a recommendation on top of whatever it is we put in the warning based on new information. Would you say that that's on the table or off the table with us?
No, that's why I said earlier that, I'm hoping that we can do like we did last year, where the moderator asked the electorate if we can kind of give an overview of the article before the person who made the motion gets the first question or comment.
Okay. I think if you and Andy and the town moderator think that this works, I'm fine with it. I'm fine with starting with 50-50 if that's your recommendation. I appreciate you trying to be creative and give the voters an opportunity here in this wild year to weigh in, even though they always have that opportunity to weigh in. So thank you. I'm good.
Okay, so I'm going to go to Andy, but Mike had a comment. I don't know if everybody heard it, but Mike said, couldn't we really devastate the reserve, the general reserve? But not really, because the numbers would only be the numbers up top. So if we agreed to the 400 and 440, the most they could take out is 440, which is about a third of what Lori's recommending. We've always tried not to take more than a third out of the reserve at any one time. So because that was kind of a sidebar, I just want to make sure everybody heard that. And then Andy had a comment or question or statement or something.
Yeah, so I think you guys understand how this would work well enough for sure. But just to add in there that filling in the blanks, the method that people could use to choose what percentage of these funds comes from taxes and what percentage comes from the capital reserve happens within the context of an amendment. So if the people are okay with the article as written, they may just vote it. Filling in the blanks requires participation from them and that this is something they want to do. So I would just add that the percentages you put in Article 9 should be percentages you're comfortable with as a board, should the people not want to amend anything.
Yeah. And that's why I was saying we need to decide on that, so thank you for clarifying that. So are there any questions or comments from the board?
Rich?
Well, hang on, Laura. Chad? I see Chad's joined us. Chad, Mike, or Dwight or Kate. Are you guys have any questions, comments, thoughts? Go ahead.
Yeah, I think this is great, and it's definitely, encourages participation. I'm just wondering if, kind of what Laura was saying, if the board makes, we're not actually making are we making a recommendation, or is this just kind of throwing it out there? Because I don't want it to appear as though we're not kind of sure what we want to do. And we could leaving it up to you, or
no,
you know what I mean?
We as a board need to come up. with these numbers. These numbers
So
are
this
just
is our
numbers I
recommendation,
made
but
up.
giving them the opportunity to adjust.
We're just
them on the fly.
letting them know that
Okay.
they can.
Okay.
Okay, are you all good?
Yep.
Do you have any other thoughts?
I'm good. I need to educate myself a little more on, like the tax rates. You said we haven't gone up in what, 3 years?
No. We haven't taken money for the capital building and the capital transportation out of taxes
Gotcha.
for the last 2
This is the
years.
first number
We've
I've
moved
seen.
money,
Yep.
but
Gotcha.
in the past, we have gone both ways. Because it kind of also fits in with the next question and you know, what the surpluses are gonna be. So it is hard to separate it, but unfortunately, when we're at the meeting, people can't ask about, well, what about the next question? Because we have to deal with the question at hand. We can't bounce around. That's why we have to do a really good job in the report explaining this, and also a really good job at the pre-meetings to let people know. And we will discuss this, you know, about this filling in the blanks.
Okay.
Filling in the blanks.
It's good.
Okay, because I do have a different suggestion for these numbers, but I just put it in here for that.
Okay.
So go ahead, Laura, it's your turn.
Well, if you have a different suggestion for the number, I'd like to hear it.
Well, so I want to just confirm with Lori that we were still looking at about 300 for the reserve, for surplus, because it is a big number this year and we're facing a lot of other pressures that we usually don't have and hopefully we won't, i.e. the CLA, i.e. the yield, i.e. the state spent all the extra money. You know, they've given it back to the districts in the previous years and there's no more federal funds. So I would actually like to see, just so that we don't, as Mike said, don't totally deplete the, and we wouldn't even if we moved it all. I would like to see us, just so that we raise a little bit of it in taxes, is to do a 90-10 split. And that will fit into the next part a little bit too.
Richard?
Yeah.
So, and I'm fine with putting that in as long as, you know, we're able to explain to the voters, which I know we will be able to, how much money will potentially lower, you know, what that effect will have on the tax rates, residential tax rates. I'm fine with doing that.
Okay. All right. So filling in the blanks, I'm at 90-10. Is anybody at a different number?
90 coming from the general reserve.
Yeah, and then 10 from raising taxes.
I don't think it's a good idea. But it seems like based on what the cost is for the roof over the next 2 years, we may be going back the next year and
Asking for more.
asking for even more than that. So 50-50 seems reasonable to maintain what we would need for the next two. And then even beyond the next 2 years, we're looking at the 3 years out, there's still another $500,000. It's like $500,000 each year for the next 3 years in total expenses.
Yeah, that's why I think though too, remember that we know this report isn't right.
Well, it's
Because-
close enough, and other things could pop up too. So I would suggest we leave it at 50-50.
Okay. So we got a 90-10, a 50-50. Mike, you got?
I gotta familiarize myself with it a little better. I mean, you can't, yeah. When was the last time we hiked it? You don't know?
Hiked what?
Of the education tax rate on?
Every year.
Yeah.
I think I think what you're asking is we haven't asked for
Yeah,
capital funds.
Gotcha.
In 2 years.
2 years, is it? This is
Right,
all
that's what
typically
Lori
free.
said. 3 years ago, I think we took it out of taxes.
Out of taxes, right. So it's been 3 years.
And what, do you remember what that percentage was?
Or a number.
Well, it was all of it, whatever we
Number.
asked for. We've been funding it about 100, 200 and 100. I don't have it in front of me, but we haven't been facing a roof.
Yeah.
And we also have been, like, we thought we bought a swing set. We thought we bought play equipment that was gonna cover everything, and then we get told it doesn't, and then, you know, there's almost 100,000 we're probably spending in swing sets, and I shouldn't say swing sets, in structures. You know, this 161 for fire alarms, I was thinking 50 or 60. You know, I don't know what plumbing system is next year in line and fixtures, but you know, we're looking at spending $500,000 for the next 3 years. Each year.
each year?
Yeah, so $1.5 million.
Guys, the plumbing stuff, actually, if you see the state just came out with a new lead rule in the next year. I think it's by next October. Every school is going to have a water person come from the state who's going to assess the structure and the piping in all the buildings. And if you run into lead anywhere, they're recommending that you do full line replacement. So I think some of that part that they put in there about the plumbing stuff is literally replacing the all the copper in your buildings, basically, recognizing that a lot of the lead that's coming up in lines is the old lead solder that was used in a lot of these joints in old schools. So that was I got an email from the state about that, I think a week ago. So I would think that's what that's about.
Greg, let's hold it off because we're in the middle of another discussion, and that's coming a couple years down the road. Kate, what numbers would you be good with in that for percentages?
So what would those numbers translate to in terms of like the impact on the taxpayers and such?
Well, it'd be another, if we did 10% coming from taxes, it'd be another $44,000. So it's probably, what's that, Lori? Roughly.
I have the wrong sheet up right now.
Okay.
I have to get the right sheet.
Well,
I'm on just the capital sheet at the moment, so. All right, so if you're talking about, we haven't talked about tax rates at all, so.
how much does $44,000 cost us on a tax rate roughly? Is it gonna add a penny or two to the residential? 3 cents?
Well, hold on. 44,000 is basically a penny.
Okay.
What's 220,000?
Well, multiply it by
So
by 4.
3 cents.
It's a nickel.
Nickel.
Mm-hmm.
Per 1,000.
That's right.
Yeah, I wasn't kidding.
So go ahead, Kate, you still have the floor.
Yeah, so the difference between a penny and a nickel on the tax rate, that doesn't feel super crazy. I would be comfortable with either one. I think so. We want to put forth which one we're recommending to the taxpayers, and then they can determine what at the meeting, like what their comfort rate is. But I think having that math on hand is going to be super helpful. So you can put it in terms and put a story around it while we're talking to folks. Because if you just tell me that you need $440,000, that feels like a lot of money. But when you say it's going to impact your tax rate by a penny or by 5 cents, like that doesn't feel horrendous to me at all, either one of those scenarios.
Okay, so at 50/50, we'd be looking at 220. So we're looking at 44 is a penny. So you're looking at about a nickel. So do you want to go? Are you good with the 50/50 then? I think is what you're saying.
Yeah, I'm good with the 50/50.
Okay, Chad.
So breaking it down into this, definitely that, as you said earlier, Rich, bite-sized chunks does make it easier to swallow, even if we went to 50/50. But I think by having the percentage skewed more towards, ourselves, 60/40, 70/30, that leaves us being more beholden to our mission to really maintain the fiduciary responsibility. And we're not asking to shift more burden to, again, it's not a large burden in the grand scheme, but nonetheless, absorbing that on our own so that, we have the ability, as Dwight said, we might come into a situation where we really need to levy out at 50/50. So if we are capable of doing it at a 60/40, 70/30 split, I think that's more of an olive branch to the taxpayers to say, hey, look, we still need more help, but, we're not going to ask you to bear more of it than is reasonable.
Okay, thank you, Chad. Laura, go ahead. Laura.
Sorry. So we have not talked about tax rates yet.
Right.
So this would leave us 90, 10 would leave us with what?
With what? I'm not sure what you're asking.
What would it leave us for applying to taxes and maintaining in our reserve?
Well, and it's 6 and 1/2 does the other. We could take Article 10 right out and we can fund it all with reserves, but that doesn't give the voters the ability to take more money out too. So, but obviously, if you do a 50-50, it's 220,000. So the reserve, if the surplus is where it's supposed to, stays where Lori's predicting, you still have over $1 million.
Yeah, okay. And the notion of bonding was something I think that whether or not it would make sense to bond so that we had more funding to apply to taxes, since we're going to be looking at crazy CLAs for not just this year, but next year as well. We're not really allowing for that in this conversation, right?
I guess it would be difficult because if we borrow, even if we got a really good rate, it's costing you more money. So we do have the money that we can borrow. We do have the money in our funds. I don't know. It's that I didn't even go there with that question. I don't remember. We had a brief discussion about that, and I don't think it went anywhere. So I did not put anything there. So I think let's stick with the question here. And then if you want to bring that up, we can amend. We can do a whole article about bonding or funding that. We can add an article.
Yeah, I feel like I was pretty clear about that, but I'm worried because the rates are looking pretty high and looking like they may be for a couple of years. And so wanting to give ourselves as much flexibility to buy those down, unless we're planning on making some pretty significant budget cuts, which we have not done. So I'm just wondering about the tool of bonding as a means of kind of spreading this out in this moment and not having anything super crazy happen. So, I mean, we're looking at if 44,000 is a penny, then 444,000 is what? It's 10 cents. Yeah, it's not much. So your recommendation is not to finance any of this, to make these investments this year and not have as much on property taxes.
No, that's not my recommendation. If you want it, we can, once we get through this article, if you'd like to, we can have a discussion and you can put an article in there to ask the voters if they want to borrow money or bond for it, pay it over 20 years or 10 years or whatever.
Yeah. Okay, thanks. I think I would like to have that discussion.
Okay.
Chad,
Yeah, Chad, go ahead. Sorry, you had your hand up.
No, that's okay. I want to make sure Laura had her time to get her full piece into the record, but now is not the time to really be borrowing. If we are able to, maintain more of our surplus and invest that in the next couple of years and get a bigger return, interest alone Lori shared an email with me that will come up a little bit later tonight, but the interest in 1 month should be able to cover the cost of the playground that we need for the pre-K. So, we need to be cognizant of that. And this is not the borrowing climate by any means. And I just want to make sure that was stated, at the forefront. There's definitely a time to bond, but this year is not it.
Okay, thank you.
I don't know if school bonding is the same as town bonding, but there's a separate process for that with very different notice requirements and public meetings, and the people would have to vote separately on that.
We're gonna do that after, let's finish this article, and then we'll get to that.
Okay.
So here's what I got, if we were playing this fill in the blanks game. So I've got everything from 90 general reserve to 10 taxes, 60 general reserve to 40 in taxes, 70 general reserve to 30 in taxes, and 50-50. I never heard anybody on a majority on the tax side. So you go from lowest to highest.
Go from least likely.
Go ahead. You
You
figure
want
out
me to
what's
do it?
least likely.
Least likely is going to be the most coming out of taxes.
That's
So,
50-50.
all right. So we're going to start with 50-50. 50 from the reserve fund, 50 from taxes, and we're going to see how many just board members voting.
Yeah, just board members.
How many board members want 50-50? If it's not a majority, we're going to go to 70-30. So 70 coming from the reserve fund, 30 coming from taxes. See if we get a majority there. If we don't, we're going to go to 60-40, then 7-30, then 90-10. All right? So all the board members in favor of 50% from the reserve fund and 50% from taxes, raise your hand or say aye.
Are we voting on what's on it? For the
We're
meeting?
voting to what we're gonna put in the warning.
Yeah, gotcha.
Then they get to, all we're doing is warning.
We gotta start high and then they're gonna bring us down.
Well, which is high? High in taxes or high in reserve
All right,
fund?
I see what
Start with
we're
high.
Okay.
Yeah, so you
So-
gotta bark.
50-50 is the first one. Laura votes for 50-50.
Oh, is
Yeah.
she?
50-50.
I'll vote 50.
You got 3. Chad, what say you? Where is he? Is
Oh,
he
I
gone?
think Kate's got a pencil up.
I'm 60-40.
Okay, so you don't have a majority. You
I
just
don't know
have
if Laura
3
actually
voting.
voted.
Kate,
Laura, are you voting or not?
Yes, shows her hand.
Yep, that's my vote.
Okay, Kate, you voted yes, right?
Yeah, I'm at 50-50 because the voters, if they don't like where we came in on our recommendation, they are more than welcome to present another option, correct?
Yeah, but that's
Yes.
what Laura was saying.
Yeah.
Okay, and Dwight voted for it, right? So that's not a majority, that's 3.
Mike didn't vote for it?
Oh, you're voting for
Because they're
50-50?
gonna bring us down to 90-10. Why not do that?
It's up to you
Yeah,
guys.
that's right.
It's up to you.
Oh, there you go.
It's up to them.
You solved
50-50.
it. Good job.
Yeah, right on.
I see what you're doing.
They're gonna bring us
I
down.
see what those guys are doing.
Okay,
I see this guy.
so,
Yeah, right.
so folks, let me read this article, and this is what, if you're in agreement, this is what we're gonna put down, okay? Shall the voters of the River Valley's Unified School District fund its capital reserve funds in the following amounts for the 24-25 school year? Capital improvements, 1, buildings at 400,000, 2, transportation at 40, with 50% coming from the general reserve fund and 50% coming from raising taxes. Everybody's good with that? Cool.
Let's give it a shot.
So now the next article is Article 10. Shall the voters of the River Valley Unified School District authorize the school board to withdraw money from the reserve fund to offset the homestead tax rate, but not more than $200,000? So using that 50-50 above, we will be taking out $220,000, so that's going to leave a little bit north of $1 million, as long as the surplus, as long as there is a surplus, and Lori's got it pretty well nailed. The reason why we're in pretty good shape is that usually the big thing that's is the biggest surplus creator or deficit creator for us is usually secondary tuition, and secondary tuition is pretty well set. Because remember, we're trying to predict now how many students there's gonna be next September all through the year. And then salaries are already taken out of the equation and all the expenditures that should be made. So Lori's pretty comfortable with that. Lori's not been off before on the surpluses by, 300,000. So I think we're in good shape. So I just put in again a number of 200,000. I just dreamed up a number. It came to me while I was talking to my ancestors or something. I don't know. I just put a number in there. What do you guys want to do? So Lori just told us that $40,000 is around a penny. So 200,000 would save us 5 cents. Laura, I got you, but I'm going to let anybody else speak first since you spoke a lot last time and first. Anybody else want to go first? Cool. You get to go first, Laura. And then Lori can go.
I would like to increase that amount. I would like to increase it to 4. I mean, I could go to 3. I think we moved 2 last year. And again, we're looking at some pretty significant increases this year. So if we are looking at funding capital reserves or funding capital projects, and we are potentially at $1 million, I would like us to look at 4.
Okay. Go ahead. You guys, any other board members? Going once?
Kate has her hand.
Go ahead, Kate. I'm sorry. Thank you, Tracy.
No worries. So would we be putting ourselves in a tricky situation if Article 9 ends up going with most of it getting pulled out of the reserves? Like, would we put our reserves in a tricky situation if we went up to 4?
So as an example, if they did 100% out of the reserves and this was 400, you would take 800,000. So you'd have about 5 left. So next year, you're just setting ourselves up for, there's only going to be maybe 500. We may run a deficit. We may not have any surplus next year. So, you could be running into a real tricky situation with those numbers. And again, remember that number can be modified also because we're going to be another almost 2 months out or another month out, month and a half out. So we also should see if the yield changes and maybe a large family moves in. So we say, the budget isn't enough, or a large family moves out, so we have less to it. I mean, things can change. That's why we try to put the meeting off. Does that answer your question?
It does. Thank you.
Okay. Any other board member? And then we'll go to Lori. Go ahead.
I like it. I think your ancestors are on something, Rich. I think it's a good number, but not because of that, but maybe. But no, I think that it kind of jives with what we're asking for 50% of the buildings. It seems to be a good number to maintain the reserve. So I think at 200,000, I'm in favor of.
Okay. And again, I always try to, one of the things we always had in the past is we never try to move more than a third out. So, okay, you all set, Mike? Chad.
I concur with Dwight. So, as he suggested, works for me.
Okay, go ahead, Lori.
I was just gonna ask if it would be helpful for me to just kind of show you the ins and the outs of how this works in the fund, in the operational reserve fund. At a 50-50 match with the 200 and then the 300 coming back in. Would it be helpful for the board members to see that?
Well, I think you went over it. You said we have a little over $1 million. You're going to add 3, so that'd be 1.3-ish, and then we're going to take about 4 out. So that's going to leave about, if I take 4 from 1.3, it leaves about 9.
Okay.
Yep, makes sense. Hopefully.
That's why I was
You're it's a little over $1 million doing it that way, but yeah, you're close. So that's to Laura's point. That's all. I just was trying to, so people would like to see it. That's all.
Okay. And again, remember everybody too, this is a number we're just putting in the warning. This just gets the article moved to the floor and then anybody can amend it. So somebody can make it 800,000. They can't make it more than what we have. So, we'll know what we've spent above and we'll have a rough idea. But again, that's I think there was a selectman that always used to say the voters are always right. So they'll tell us what the right answer is, I believe, I hope. Everybody good with that? Go ahead, Lori. What?
Before we leave the whole conversation, can we just go back to, and it can be later, Rich, it doesn't have to be now, but the annual contribution, I just want to talk that through because I want to put in what the board wants to see there.
Okay. I'm a little lost, Lori. What do you mean the annual?
Talking about the 10-year plan.
Oh, the 10, yeah, okay, I'm sorry. Yeah, let's finish this warning up. and
That's
then-
fine. I
yeah.
just don't want to move on without
No,
getting
'cause-
that information from you.
Because I'm gonna also put you on the spot here in a minute too, so.
All right.
So Laura was at Flora. Laura, not Lori, was at 4. I had a couple people at 2. Are you folks good with, so how do you want to do this? You want to turn this over to Andy again and let him? He's practicing for the school district meeting. So all those in favor of 4, low, we'll start low, right?
With the least likely, so
Least likely is 4.
least likely. I'm gonna guess from the discussion, 4 is least likely.
Okay, how many people want to see the number in Article 10 be 400,000? Say aye, or raise your hand. I got Laura. Can't see Chad. He looks good. Okay, how about 200,000? How many people are for that number?
Aye.
Okay, that's got 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so we'll leave that at 200 for now. Okay, so we got our warning set. So I'll get that corrected and sent to you.
Perfect.
Okay, so Lori, just because again, we can look at it, and I know the yield hasn't been set. Oh, did you have something more on the warning?
Yeah, just very quickly. So you folks or whomever's doing the report can now put this in the report, which is part of how you warn the meeting.
Do you need to vote formally to adopt?
Yeah, we'll vote to
Okay,
formally
right.
adopt
Gotcha.
that. But
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
But yeah, just that way you don't have to stay if you don't want to.
Okay.
Is there anything else?
Perfect.
So do you have a
yeah.
clean copy?
Not with your,
Well, mine was stapled.
we didn't change anything. So yeah,
No, I just,
It's
on the
highlighted,
signature
but yeah.
page. Because if we do the signature page, then I'll clean up
Okay.
the highlights. Is that okay?
perfect.
Okay, so I'll use this one. It's got a
Bring
little
that
tear
in.
in the corner. I'll bring that in tomorrow, at least with our signature. So, hey,
This one, does Article 9, or sorry, Andy, does that have, as a question mark at the end, is that for our use, or that's the wording should be?
They need to have question marks at the end, pretty much.
Okay,
it's a yes or
Article
no
9.
question.
okay, just double check.
Yes, so it could be voted yay or nay without doing anything to it
Okay.
as is.
Yep.
And that's where I messed up when I first tried to think of this and put it together. It didn't look anything like this.
I think it's
I
great.
sent to Andy, he said, God, this is really good. And Andy said, I'll send you an email. So he corrected it. And that really was Andy's article. I just then filled in some numbers. So thank you for that help.
No
Yeah.
problem, and I will take advantage and leave if you don't need anything else. But I don't wanna leave Laura hanging, if you guys are gonna talk about bonds and the process for that and what would or not be appropriate at this meeting for that. I'll stay, cause I have a little bit of knowledge of that. You want me to?
Sure. Just hang out for a couple minutes.
Okay.
No, that's for you.
Oh, right.
And then, so if we approve this tonight, then we're gonna need the other 3 of you, Kate and Chad Moore, just to stop at the town clerk's office. And if we have to, Kate, I can run it up there, or you can maybe at lunch or something come down. Chad, we'll have to figure out how to get it to you, buddy.
I can come up on Wednesday, Rich. Shouldn't be a problem.
Okay, so it'll be at Andy's office.
Sounds good, Chad.
You got it.
So, Laura, go ahead and on the warning, you want to add an article about funding or doing a bond or borrowing money to put some money away in the reserve. Or I'm sorry, to do these projects. So go ahead.
Yeah, I don't think I'm looking to borrow money to put into the reserves. So I think I am, based on what Andy has said, looking for us to get a sense from the voters if they would like us to research bonding the rest of the roof, given the situation with taxes and the high need for capital improvements.
So how about if we put that on Article 11? I have school construction, repair versus new future school construction aid, and I can do a / bonding.
Perfect.
And then Andy will, we'll ask, I know Lori, we asked her to, or Greg to just look into any bonding or availability for funds. And I believe a couple meetings ago, Lori or Greg, you had some numbers for us, or like percentages or something.
That would have been me. And I did probably have, because I had to get it for some other board, they were running 4.5%. Depends on whether you go 20 or 30 years, but that's about what they were. I mean, you can go less than that too. Obviously, then your cost per year is higher. Right. I think we were talking about new buildings and things along those lines as well.
Okay, so you'll be able to get us some of that, and then Andy, you'll be able to kind of have for us available kind of what would be required if we wanted to do a vote to bond. Or do you want?
I can look into that for you.
Do you want the superintendent's office to research that?
No, I can look into it for you, and I'll give these folks a call. We'll all have the information for you. The bond bank is very helpful. I might be over my head talking numbers with them, but I know the timelines and requirements for votes and public meetings. I can probably get that stuff for you.
Yeah, that's what we'd want, the process. Okay. And we'll let Lori do numbers.
Okay.
Is that fair?
Yeah. As part of the process, there's an application process, which is pretty intensive. And then of course there's whether it's a summer bond, a winter bond, a spring bond, that kind of thing. So it has to fall within their bond periods. So it's both the application process and when you're applying. So, but I mean, I would recommend not just looking at the roof. If you're going to bond, then bond for some projects out there. Doing a small, $400,000 bond is pretty labor intensive for the voters, for us, for you all. I think you'll want to kind of capture some of those other items on your list and do a larger bond.
Yeah, so Lori, if you look at your facilities condition assessment, it's really for the next 5 years, you're looking at 400, 560, 500, 275, 300, 320, 235, and then we get, a couple little years mixed in with big years. So,
right.
I definitely agree, and I think we need to just make sure that's part of the discussion at the school district meeting to see, and again, we don't know what these numbers really are, but if we can do these numbers, if we can do this work sooner rather than later, I think everything's come back down as low as it's going to go for a while. I know like plastic pipe isn't as expensive as it was 2 or 3 years ago, but I don't think it's going to continue to go lower. So, there could even be a savings that offsets the amount of interest you pay by having the work done in the next year or two, and then things aren't getting worse. If we could put the roof off for 5 more years, but we're also going to incur more damage inside the building, and there's going to be more issues, and our principal will probably not like us anymore. So is Laura, is that good with you? And I think we're all okay.
That's great. Thanks, Rich.
Okay, so then can we get a motion to approve the proposed warning with the only change is, because we're keeping those numbers that I put in there. So the only change would be under school construction, repair versus new future school construction aid, and bonding for repairs. Can we get a motion to approve the warning as submitted with that one change under Article 11?
So moved.
Okay, so Dwight moved. Do we have a second? Kate seconds it. Meredith, do you have everything? I know we've been bouncing around a lot.
Yep, thank you.
Okay, so the motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor signify so by saying aye.
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 Appears to be a unanimous decision in the affirmative. It is, our cameraman's keeping tally. Did we count them all, boss? Okay. So you have an agenda, or a warning, I'm sorry, not an agenda, it's a warning. You guys all good?
Just gonna send me the copy of that once he gets all the signatures so we can get it into the
Yep.
report.
And I'll fix this on my computer and send this to everybody tomorrow. Okay, so Lori, back to the capital and transportation plan balances.
Yes.
So we know we're gonna do 400 this year in the building. What I'd like to maybe do is have you put in proposed numbers that keeps us going into a deficit in the next year or two. And I think that would be a good number just to show people what it's gonna take in the future years, even though we don't approve it until that future year comes to be voted on. Is that?
So you would like it to be 0 for the next few years,
No,
or
no.
like 100,000, because that's about what you were putting in before?
No, I'd like to see the number, the annual contribution, make it so that we're not showing a negative number at the end of the year, ending reserve balance.
500 a year.
So yeah, you're gonna be in the 500,000 a year, maybe 475.
So you want me to do like 500 a year or 300, or just make it so it's 0 all the way through?
Or as close to it as we can get, at least for the next couple years. So people see
Okay.
what's gonna be happening down the road, because I think that also helps in our explanation why we're not moving all of our reserves, and also, you know, what's coming down the pipe. But again, I think, you know, we just have to stress that it's not set in stone. We don't.
Yeah. Right. I mean, put an asterisk next to it or something.
Well, no, it's not, nothing you're voting on.
No,
These are just for future planning.
Right. Yep.
Same with transportation.
Transportation, the 40, looks like it will work until you get to the tractor year.
Yeah, actually 40 works all the way through, so that's not a problem.
Oh, good.
Okay, so I'm gonna just work with these numbers. They're gonna be fairly random, but so that they're not a negative all the way through.
Correct. Thank you. Is that okay? Everybody good with that?
Yes.
Great.
So Greg, I think Lori, we don't have any, oh, we did do financials, didn't we? Do we have financials? Are there any? I don't know. I think
Yes.
we did Wyndham Central financials. Did we do? I don't have a financial number here for us.
Do you have one, Kate, or I'll get it here? Hold on.
Do we have one? I thought we did one last week.
Oh, right, because you've met
Right.
off kilter, so I think you do have one from last week. Yep. Yep.
Okay, so we're good with financials?
Right.
Okay, Lori, I don't see anything else.
Investment policy. Do you want me on for that?
Yep, why don't we hit that, and then we'll get Greg out after you.
Okay.
So, I know Chad had brought up, we're bouncing around a little bit, but under new business, we had investments and investment policy. And one of the things is, it was discussed, I believe, at our last meeting about interest rates and how much we're getting, and is there a better way to manage the money? And we sent that to Bob and Lori, and some of that involves our treasurer, which is Marco. So I believe that Marco and Lori had a discussion. So Lori, why don't you fill us in from there?
Sure. Just to clarify, so right now, year to date, you've made like $27,000 in interest. So that's year to date. And that's roughly around 3% on what we have in just the sweep account. But what we're looking at is investing a little bit further, a little bit deeper to get, another bump, maybe maybe 1.5%, 2% more than what we're currently getting on some amount of the money, right? So we want to look at treasuries, CDs, all sorts of vehicles. So Marco and I had a conversation. You do not have, I thought you had, but you do not have a investment policy through River Valleys. Wyndham Central has an investment policy. It's pretty old, but it's still workable, which you guys could just say, okay, we're going to come under Wyndham Central's policy and then adopt your own at some point with the policy committee. But really should have a policy in place, or, we're adhering to a policy. The bank usually wants to know that you're adhering to a policy. So as soon as you make that decision, then Marco and I are going to reach out to the bank and get things rolling on that front. We have a pretty short timeline because of cash flow, right? So I'm always, Marco and I are always working together to watch cash flow. The tax money comes in and payroll and AP goes out. And then in the summertime, it gets pretty short on cash. You have $1 million in the bank right now under your reserves. But that, some of that gets eaten away as before the tax money comes back in. So anyway, bottom line is we have to watch the cash flow. So it's not like we would take a whole $1 million and invest it. We would do some portion of that. So that's where we're at right now. I just need, I think, from the board that I can move forward, or Marco and I can move forward to with Wyndham Central's investment policy.
And I just, I want to make a quick point. If you read through most town warnings for town meeting, there's always an article in there to allow the select board to borrow money in anticipation of taxes. And that used to be a standard school warning too. And we don't have to because we keep sufficient reserves. So that's another reason where Mike and Dwight were going earlier. It is important because there's always that, we pay a lot of expenses out in the summer and in September, and we really don't see the tax money from the state until October 1st, I think, Lori. So,
or 15th, maybe.
Yeah, so we need to front some money too. And if we used all our reserves then and there was no surplus left, we would have to borrow money to pay our bills. And then we're not going to borrow at 3 to 5%. We're going to borrow something like that short term, probably over 7, maybe 6, 7, 8. I don't know. So again, that's another reason to make sure we keep some reserves. Lori, where are we at with? I just noticed we did not send that policy around. I don't believe. Has anybody had a chance to look at the Wyndham Central investment policy? Go ahead, Chad.
Excuse me. Yeah, I read all of it. It's very straightforward. What I like is some of the outlining and looking for institutions to work with is that they are community minded. I just want to add, because I was able to speak with Marco as well and get some background. He and I have not met before, so it was a great opportunity. And I also took it a step further. Fully transparent. I am a universal banker with Berkshire Bank. So I reached out to the folks in my organization who do work with community organizations. And in point of fact, we represent some of Burn Academy and their endowment funds. So it was great to kind of catch both sides of this. And I sent Marco some additional information. One of which the aspects that working with Berkshire's wealth manager is that they help municipalities and nonprofits craft their investment policies as well. So there's additional help, from the other side of the desk to do that, which is, I think a wonderful advantage. And, I expressed to both Marco and to Karen Hessen at Berkshire that, I step away on the banking side from here on out. And, I will be wearing my school board hat, with any conversation that goes on. I'm really excited about what Lori and Marco are intending to do. I think it's going to bring large dividends, literally for the board and, give us an additional leg of support financially to stand on. Again, I just think we're going in the right direction strongly.
Thank you, Chad. So just because I don't think it would be good for us to adopt the policy without at least reading it, so I just asked Bob, I just gave Bob a note, I was passing notes in class, Tracy. And Donna, can you get it, I'm gonna ask them to put it online, and just so we can review it quickly. I don't wanna read it out loud, but can everybody read that and we'll get, it's what, I'm sorry.
Can she ask Lori a quick question?
Yeah.
So,
Oh, Laura can't read it online. How are we going to get Laura to?
I'm sending an email to
Well, can I just ask a question, Rich? I'm sorry. Was this on the warning?
Yes.
Okay.
Investments policy, discussion, possible action. It's under new business.
You should have emails now with a link to it. It's on the SU website.
Is it just one page?
Is it one page? Or
3 pages.
3 pages?
Yeah, I think, let me ask Lori first. So Lori, the policy, is that something the banks require, or is just good practice for the board to have it? I mean, obviously it's good practice for the board to have it, but you said, is the bank requiring that we have these to invest?
So it depends on the bank. They like you to have it. The bank that we work with, which is M&T, they don't require it, but they really, it's best practice. People's, who was before M&T, required it. I'm not sure about, who Chad is referring to, the bank he's referring to, but if they require it or if it's best practice. But I think it's important for the board to, eventually probably adopt their own policy, but certainly this policy could stand in place.
Okay, thanks.
So, I think what the idea is because there's a little bit of timing, that we would adopt the Wyndham Central one, and then the policy committee, Mike and Kate, would work on a one specific to Dover. And it's, I think, Lori, again, you just asked Dwight if we need something like that. So, I don't know if everybody, I know Mike, were you able to read it, or did you just?
I just skimmed through it quickly.
Rich?
Yeah, go ahead, Laura.
I would like us to put this on the next meeting's agenda.
I can make it a River Valley's version of Wyndham Central and just give you a draft of that to look at as a potential.
Okay, well let's see what everybody else thinks. That's one person.
Yeah, I would agree with Laura. I mean, we've been thinking about this for a long time. I don't want to rush at the end here. I think, they can just update the policy for River Valleys, and we give us an opportunity to read it. Would make sense. Like, I'm willing to wait and lose $10 or whatever it is in the next 2 weeks.
Okay, so Dwight and Laura are willing to cover the losses.
Right.
No, so there's two, are there a couple more people that want to hold off, and then Bob? Kate, are you good if this doesn't go through policy committee, if we get it out before the next meeting?
As long as everybody reads it and reviews it, I am happy that we bypass policy committee.
Are you okay with that, Mike? Cool. Okay, so then if I'm getting the percentages or filling in the blanks, it looks like the blanks are that we just put this off and we do one for the next meeting that says River Valley Unified School District. No arguments? Lori, you got off really easy. Hey, for the next meeting, Lori, can we get you for like 10, 15 minutes, just go over tax rates using the numbers that we now have, assuming that all the items in the article pass? And then we'll also, if we can, review the capital plan with the, not not the one that Greg gave us with, what's going on, but the short one.
Yes, but is it the 26th? Is that your next meeting?
No, it's April Fool's Day.
Okay, I'm getting confused because your meeting's changed. Okay.
Yeah,
So if it's
well,
the
they gotta stop having holidays on our meeting dates, and then we wouldn't have to change them.
Right.
I'm sorry,
Move
but
the
I just
holidays.
want to make sure I'm actually going to be here. Okay, yes.
Okay, well, if
The
not,
first. I'm not here the first.
Okay,
I'm sorry.
So let's meet ahead of time so we can go over it with you, okay? Because also on the 1st is gonna be our first run at this with the public,
Okay,
okay?
sounds good.
Okay, thank you, Lori, we really appreciate it, sorry it took so long.
Talk to you later. Bye.
Matt, Greg, where did Greg go?
Yes, sir. I didn't go anywhere yet.
Yes, sir.
I just didn't want to come up.
I work for a living too, sir. Dover PCB update. So nothing new. They were supposed to do testing, right? Over vacation.
Wednesday.
On Wednesday.
Wednesday this week. Yep.
Okay.
Start at noon. There'll be Catamount, Monsanto lawyers, and Fuss and O'Neill folks will all be there to do the final sampling.
Tracy says she brought her knife and her chisel and stuff to get that concrete for.
Yep.
Okay, and then
She's ready for it.
I think we kind of covered the roof, but you so I guess our next step would be if this gets approved, we would have to put together an RFP and get that out, or can we do an RFP with the understanding that if the money's not approved by the voters at our annual district meeting, that we won't be able to perform the work?
My goal was to basically have it ready to go so that the day we find out what the vote is, we would post it the next day and put it out. If you'd like to put it out before that, we could put it out before that and say like the bid date being due after your meeting. And then, we just have a clause in there that says, if our budget were to get voted down, there's a clause in every one of our RFPs that says we reserve the right to reject any and all bids for, any reason that most benefits the district, which if we don't have an approved budget, I think that most benefits the district.
Okay, I hate asking people because it's not like I'm just gonna throw some numbers on a napkin at the bar and hand it to you. So I just don't want to, have people spend a lot of time and effort into doing a proposal and then just say we're not doing it. So whatever you think is best. You think you're good with that then?
Yeah, I'm with you 100%. I'd rather wait until the day after your vote and have something ready to post. It seems to me like a good enough project that I think any of these guys would be happy to make it fit in their schedule. So, we can have a finish by date of August 18th, right? And I would think that, we put it out, say, when's your vote? Late April?
Yeah, April 28th.
9th.
Yeah, so if we put it out there for a bid date to be done, to be back in by the 3rd week of May, a walkthrough on the 2nd week of May, I think we can make it happen.
Okay, so is everybody good with that? So maybe at the next meeting, you just send something over what you think the RFP is going to look like, and the board can take a look at it.
Will do.
Okay.
Is that a quick question?
Go ahead.
So I think it's a great plan, and we have. I was wondering. We talked at the last couple of meetings about possible state funding for some of these projects. I don't know where that is. I haven't been following that anywhere, but I'm wondering if Greg or someone from the office or Bob could look into are there actual funds? Can we apply for something for funds?
There's been no legislation moved on that yet.
Nothing's moved on it at all.
But
I don't think Laura could confirm, but
So nothing actually apply for.
But we should be able to get some efficiency money because we are increasing insulation.
Yeah, I think
That's different.
any
Yeah,
opportunity.
Greg knows
we should
more
look
about that
into.
part.
That's all I'm suggesting. Anything we can look into.
So Greg, you don't have to answer now, but I think you maybe mentioned efficiency because of the insulation, and see if there's any other grants out there.
Okay, I'm emailing Alex Rowe from Efficiency Vermont right now. So
Thanks, Greg.
Yeah.
Is everybody done with Greg? Can we let Greg go? Or
Never.
should we make him stay for another hour? What color's the roof gonna be? No.
Yeah.
Thank you, Greg. We appreciate it.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
Yeah. I see some people have come on since we're here. Scott, member of the public, do you have anything, sir? Good talk, okay.
Nope, I'm good.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Scott.
Interesting as always.
Appreciate it. Kendra, you have anything for us? I don't.
Nothing here.
Okay, thank you for joining us. And then I see we got Bridget for staff.
I have nothing, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Bridget. Okay, so I got a website update, Brattleboro Web Accessibility, Chad, and I guess that's you, sir.
Okay.
Yeah. So we shared it around to the members of the board just to have a look at the website, at Brattleboro's website, which Edgeworks is also crafted, you know, as the correspondence between Derek and Ed had, you know, we shared that as well. And Ed had mentioned that, you know, when we first engaged with them and started it, this web accessibility was not really on the radar for a lot of websites. And now it really has become so. And I really appreciate them pointing this out. And I also want to just take a quick second, seeing that Mark Schauber is here visiting with us tonight. So Mark, you know, I've said it a couple times the last few meetings, but I want you to hear it again, that really appreciate, you know, your foresight when you were part of the committee, especially with regards to some of the additional ADA responsibilities. You know, one of the things we highlighted was your phenomenal work to make sure that we were color accessible. And, you know, with that, I'm just amazed, you know, looking at what accessibility or AccessiBE has done for the Brattleboro website. And for those that are on the call, and we'll see this later on, that have not been to the website, to brattleboro.gov. AccessiBE includes the options to create seizure-safe profiles, vision-impaired profiles, ADHD-friendly, cognitive disability, other keyboard navigation and motor function, and blind users, so screen readers, as well as the ability to adjust content scaling, the size of font, highlighting tiles, links, text magnifying, and you know that covers a lot of it. But you know, even more, and again, noting what Mark had done for us in creating a color palette, being able to adjust text colors, you know, for those that do have some impairedness with regard to colors. So, you know, we discussed about the possibility of engaging with AccessiBE, getting the idea of what the cost would be. And, you know, it really seems like a no-brainer just to be able to go through. I know part of the conversation at the last meeting was to be able to have some additional you know, legal fortitude, should we run afoul of someone or someone run afoul of what the website is doing for them. So I think that's just an added bonus, in addition to being, you know, on the front side of the hill, you know, making sure that any of our visitors are comfortable with accessing all the content that we have to offer for them. So I'm just wondering, you know, some thoughts from other members of the board who had a chance to visit and recognize what, you know, the accessibility really means with this medium.
So are there any questions for Chad or any thoughts? Has anybody got to visit it? I tried.
The Dover website?
Well, the River Valley.
Yeah.
The new one.
I poked around.
What'd you see?
I saw concussion protocol for Fisher Elementary School. Why is that on there? I saw a bunch of odd things that I didn't know what I was looking at.
You sure we're in Dover, Vermont?
Yeah.
Or I mean River Valley.
Yeah.
For what elementary school?
Fisher Elementary School.
You know what?
That's Arlington. That's Arlington, Vermont.
Yeah. No, it was. I'm fairly certain the RSU school. Yeah.
RVUSD.
Yeah.
Try see if you can do that again and just send that to Chad. We don't have to do it now. Are there any other comments, questions? Mark, thank you. I'm like Chad said, Mark's here. Mark had a lot of foresight. Mark is definitely. Mark and I are probably about the same with our technological prowess. So but
It's true.
yeah. But Mark, thank you for your help. Chad, thank you too, because without Mark here, it's kind of fell on you too. So, and then also losing Matt, who was kind of leading that for a while. It's a lot of big shoes to fill. So
For sure.
Policy update, Kate. I think we have none, right? You're planning a meeting.
The WCSU has a meeting, I believe next week for policy, and that will kind of guide the River Valley's policy after that.
Okay, and you're serving on that committee, right, for us at Wyndham Central?
Yes.
Thank you for that. If everybody's okay, is there any other old business I missed? Everybody good with old business? I'm gonna skip to Bob so we can get the superintendent's update. And then that way Bob can take off. I don't know, maybe the Celtics are playing tonight.
No.
Okay.
Just gonna go to bed. So I thought I had sent out the cabinet report in March earlier, and I think I only sent it to the West River Board.
Well, we see where your
So,
alliances
well,
are.
they had a meeting that day, and so I just sent it to them, and I forgot to send it to everybody until today. So you got that today. Apologies for the lateness on that. Just to highlight one thing, I know you guys have talked about hiring in recent board meetings and the shortages of staff for interviews and things like that. I believe this will be the first time, but Michelle Brown from HR and I and Sue Gaskins are going to a job fair up in Middlebury for educators on Friday.
So where are you looking for?
So-
Somewhere further up north?
So
Less
we are not looking for work. We are going up with a whole WCSU display table with a little bit of some free, stuff to give away with some little pictures, and we have just a display thing where we have a student from Leland Gray is working on a promotional video to promote why I want to work in the SU. And so we're going to hopefully have that up and ready on a little screen as well. So yeah, Friday afternoon, we're going to be up at Middlebury High School in an education job fair put on by UVM to see what we can do. See if we can recruit some folks down this way. If it's successful, it'll be the first job fair I think that we've done here. Then we'll look to expand that into probably the Boston, Springfield, Mass kind of region, Hartford, and just see what we can get from southern part of New England as well. And we'll see what that looks like. But it's something that we've never had to do in education before. But times have changed, and we need to get out there and be more active in the recruiting. So that's sort of my takeaway for you guys. We're working on it. We're going to be out there on Friday.
Just getting to work with you, Bob, should be just.
You would think. Well, I am going because I figured just the eye candy value. Maybe we could draw in some applicants.
You can tell them your story that you told everybody, your interesting story during your interviews.
That's true. I have a lot of stories. I was a history teacher, so I'm full of useless stories.
I was thinking your summer job.
Oh, right. Yeah, I'd just save that for a good moment.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's sort of the big exciting stuff this week. We're continuing our search for a couple of the key positions at the SU office.
How, with the positions that are advertised both at River Valley and any of your other districts and at central office, are you seeing more applicants? I know somebody said that you're doing a different, you used to use School Spring and now there's a different.
So we're still using School Spring. What happens now is that when people click on the School Spring link, it pushes them towards this internal system that we're using. And then they submit the materials that way, but they're still advertising out the same way. We're starting to share out stuff more on social media through the schools, Facebook pages, websites, what have you, my personal LinkedIn account, all that kind of stuff, just to try to promote and push out the job search piece as well. And the SU created a Facebook page as well. We're using that to promote as well. Share out the schools' Facebook pages as that stuff comes up. So being pretty active on social media to try to promote that as well is also new, I think. But yeah, I would say the teacher pools are still small. The curriculum coordinator position that we posted for actually probably has the biggest draw so far. Yeah, some of them are still challenges to see what to get pulled. So we'll keep working at it, but that's what we're doing to try to move it up and get us, and I think if this promotional video could be student created, could be kind of cool to have it out there. We're hoping to get little snippets from staff from each of the buildings to talk about why I work at whatever building, and then we make it into a big video and put it on our website and so on and so forth. So
Cool.
Yep. So we're hoping that will increase our applicants down in the spring.
So on TV land there, Kate or Laura or Chad, do you have anything for the superintendent?
Bring us back some good people.
Yep.
Well, that wasn't bad.
That was easy.
You guys are,
Thanks for all your work, Bob.
Yep.
you guys all good?
Hey, Bob, just a quick question. I guess, as you mentioned, the curriculum coordinator seems to be getting some great interest. And this is more of a general. Might that be because we see some teachers that are, still loving education, but losing the luster for being in classroom?
Wow.
That's a great question. And the answer is probably. Classroom teaching is very different than it was when I started, when some of your administrators here started. And I would say even from 10 years ago, it's dramatically different now. And a lot of that has to do with COVID and the impact of that for sure. Social media, phones, some of it's just, the political climate has been more divided in recent years. And so that unrest impacts kids. Mental health crisis, still dealing with the opioid crisis, homelessness. All of it is just blowing up in our region in particular. And so it's a harder job than it used to be. You're absolutely right. And so, not that being a curriculum coordinator is an easy job, but I think it's people sometimes need a different change of pace from what they're doing. And so, yeah, I think that is a factor.
Thank you for the honesty, and certainly to you and to Tracy and Donna, share with us as board members and parents whatever else we can continue to facilitate and assist to make that climate much more enjoyable, so that the love of teaching is what it is, and our students continue to have great experience with some great educators.
No, thank you. We will.
And if we're all set with Bob, just real quickly, if you look at the next meeting, so we did have a quick discussion. One of the things our articles of agreement is that the town opposite the town that we're having the annual meeting in, that we do an informational meeting within 10 days of the school district meeting. So we were thinking of switching the Dover and Wardsboro meeting again, and we've been a little off kilter because in the fall we were in Wardsboro a lot because of their needs, and then we were trying to catch up and then get back onto our schedule. So we were in Dover for a few extra meetings, and with the meeting being in Dover this year, we should be meeting in Wardsboro the meeting before. But even with April 1st being our first meeting, the second meeting is on the 15th, so we're over 10 days. So we would have to meet on a Friday to meet that 10-day requirement. So what we were thinking of doing was moving having 3 meetings in April. The April 1st meeting would be in Wardsboro as usual. We would still kind of review the agenda. We'll talk about the budget and stuff. We would do the April 15th in Dover, and we would make the first hour available for questions to review the warning. And then we would have a meeting on April 22nd in Wardsboro specifically for the budget presentation or go through the agenda. So that doesn't really require any central office staff for that portion or any of the administrators. And we don't even need a full board because it's really an informational meeting. But if we get at least a majority of the people there, just so that if there's questions, we know if we have to adjust something or if we have to, we take input at those informational meetings to maybe make recommendations at the annual meeting. So I know Bob, we're trying to just have Bob come to 1 meeting a month. So is that okay with everybody for the meetings, just so Bob knows? And we also have to set up, we do agenda, Kate and I meet with Bob to build the agenda, usually the Wednesday or Thursday before our meeting too. excuse me, so the meeting on the 22nd will be real simple. It's just, all it is to review the agenda, but the other two, we would have real meetings. Or saying good.
She's saying good? Oh, but have we ever done in the past having the informational meeting prior to a board meeting, make it the same day?
No, that's what we're doing.
That's what we're doing.
But I can't do it, we can't do it on April 15th because it's more than 10 days to
So you
the
have to
annual.
the 22nd, but we're still having 3 meetings.
Right, we still have to have 3 meetings, but the 22nd is just gonna be an informational meeting.
So what I'm saying is why don't we skip the 15th and just have it?
Because the 22nd, there's not gonna be any administrators around and it's in the wrong town.
Oh, I thought it was the week of the 15th was a holiday.
It
It
No,
is.
have different vacation weeks. Dwight, the WCSU calendar has the week of April 22nd, and
Gotcha.
the school that your kid goes to has the prior week.
Okay.
So you're just like
I
the
just
poster
assumed,
child
sorry.
for a statewide
Still,
calendar.
I'm just trying to get 2 meetings, guys. Give me a break, you know?
Well, don't forget, so April will have 4 meetings, because you got the annual meeting too. Plus you have
Yeah,
to
but we
go
have
out
4
and
meetings. I
vote.
was trying to get it down to 3, so, all right. I see where you're going.
Okay,
with that.
so if everybody's okay with that, we'll just adopt that and then, just so Bob knows what's going on in his life.
Do you want me to talk to you about this later?
Yeah, you can take that.
Take it, okay.
Okay, thank you, Bob.
Yeah, thank you,
Tracy,
guys.
go ahead. Principals reports, anything new,
What's
exciting?
going on?
The only thing I have new is that we have an interview this week for an intermediate grade level position. We've posted also for a summer program coordinator for summer camp and the PM custodian, and I have one applicant for the
For something.
summer camp. They call it summer fun, it's stuck in my head, but it makes more sense if I say summer camp. I have one applicant for the summer camp, and we're very excited about the applicant we have for the intermediate position.
Cool.
That's
So
it.
you can confirm what Bob said, there's not a lot of people just knocking down the door to do.
It's definitely not.
Cool. Sorry about that.
That's okay.
Any questions for Tracy, comments, thoughts? Donna, you're up.
Yeah, so as well, we are getting our interview committee together. I did reach out to parents about their interest in being part of that process and have had good responses. I will be emailing this entire board, to invite anyone who's interested in partaking in the interview process. We do have 3 applicants, active applicants for the 5-6 grade position. No applicants yet for the grade 1-2 long-term position. And I think that's it for jobs. It is, a concern about the amount of people who are applying. I wish there were more, but I'm happy that people have applied. And then we are having something fun happening. Our Wardsboro Elementary School Club is doing this great promotion on reading this month, and we're doing a bookworm reading challenge. The challenge was 300 worms, and we've met that goal already. We're at 357 worms. So to keep the reading going, every 100 worms added will be another topping on an ice cream. So I thank the Wardsboro School Club for their continued collaboration and making school fun. And we have conferences coming up, and we'll be having a book fair for people to enjoy. So looking forward to that.
Thank you. Hey, just a comment for both of you, and I should have mentioned it earlier. Usually we do have like a board member or 2 on the on interview committees, but we don't want more than 2 because then it has to be warned for a meeting, but 2 can participate. And it's good just for the board members, and especially those that haven't done it a lot. I know you've done it, Kate, you did it quite a bit. Laura and I used to. So if any of you want to do that, just let the staff know. But it would be really good if a board member from the town too could just be there. And then it also helps us when we approve or disapprove of a position.
Yep.
Go ahead, Chad.
So I just had a question for both principals about breakfast lunch sign up. I understand Dover has a nice online program that works, and I think Tracy, correct me if I'm wrong, that's on a monthly basis. And for Donna, I understand that breakfast is now sign up, and we're just curious when that sign up officially went out. I saw it over the weekend as a parent. So did that go out on Friday or prior to Friday?
Yes, it went out. The communication went out on Friday. There was a menu, and the process is for these remainder 2 weeks of March to circle the choice of breakfast. We're trying to really get a better count on our breakfasts. And so I've been working with Shane Holland, who is our food service manager, getting an idea of how we can do a little bit better. And so we're trying this process. I don't know anything about the online process, if that is going to maybe come to Wardsboro. I'm open to whatever's easiest and for parents in signing their kids up for breakfast and lunch. So for April, please look out for the menu, and we just have you go through the breakfast that the kids want to participate in, and then we can be a little bit more accurate with our counts and producing those meals.
In Dover, Lori sends out a Google form for parents to sign up by the month, choosing their breakfast and lunch options for an entire month. Super simple.
Okay. So my follow-up, and I think maybe Tracy, you might be more versed, having had, sort of the advanced month-long sign-up. One of the concerns I think we all have with any of our kids, any school students, is being food insecure. And a lot of times that can come down to the parents not wanting to admit that insecurity themselves. They may not want to sign up ahead, even though right now we've been able to offer free lunches and breakfast, which is fantastic. As far as, and I was going to kind of follow up, Donna, what was the inaccuracy of counts? Like, are we short food for kids? And I think, for Tracy, having that month long out, have you found that the accuracy is improved, that all the kids are getting, what they are looking for? And does it make sense to collaborate? Should each school have a similar, straightforward approach, given that we're under the same management of food service?
I mean, I think for Shane, it would be phenomenal if everybody used the same approach, but I don't know. I'm not going to speak for Donna's building. The discrepancy comes with the reimbursable meals, I believe, in that if it's not marked correctly and the proper student isn't accounted for, then the meal cannot be reimbursed. So it's a financial thing for the back end. We've never run out of food. Maybe once in a blue moon, someone hasn't got a chicken sandwich and they've had peanut butter and jelly, but honestly, nobody's never been fed.
I will vouch for that too. We have plenty of food. If students need seconds, they have access to that thirds. We have not run out of food. We want to make sure we have enough and make sure we have the hot choice. But there are choices, and so more to come on that. And it would be great to streamline the process so it's pretty unified. Yeah.
Right. Because I will say that with the breakfast notice that came home, reading that first come, first serve. If they're always available and you have a handful of kids that are first ones there, but they didn't sign up, then kids that did sign up may not, because it said that, we'll have at least cereal for you, which is great. We're going to have something, but you may not get that choice. So how do you wrestle with that? I signed up, Johnny comes home and says, Mom, I know you signed me up, but I didn't get one because I took the bus, but Sally didn't take the bus and she didn't sign up and she got one. So I'm just, thinking of, ahead of time, what can we do? Is it a matter of production within the building? Coming from with a small background in food service as well, getting good understanding. And I say this to be able to continue to be that conduit between, in addition to school to families, and then families will, eventually lean on us as well. So, the more accurate information, the better we can serve our constituents.
Yeah, thank you so much for the feedback about that. And I will definitely share that with Shane.
Okay. Are you good, Chad?
Wonderful. Thank you very much, ladies, for such a comprehensive discussion. Appreciate it.
I don't think we electronically got the March 4th minutes. I looked through both of the emails that came out today and I didn't see them.
Okay, he said he sent them out, but, oh, you know what, they're in the packet, he didn't send them out, you're right. So let's just do the 26th, and Kate, will you just note that we gotta do March 4th and then the March 18th at our April 1st meeting? In Wardsboro, April Fool's Day. So, does anybody have any objections? If not, we'll, by unanimous consent, accept the February 26, 2024 minutes. Okay, cool. I have no correspondence. Wasn't aware of anything. Laura's given us a thumbs up because we're a little behind, guys. Sorry. We had adjournment at 7:30, but it's more like 5 of 8. No, it's pretty good. We covered a lot. We got a lot of stuff done with the warning. Would somebody like to make a motion? Go ahead, Laura. Oh, she's just said bye.
Goodbye.
Okay, can somebody make a motion to adjourn?
I move that we adjourn the meeting at 7:57.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, I'm gonna give it to Mike. He jumped on that one. He couldn't wait.
Good way you did.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Bye, everybody. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.